Namaste, Namaskaram, Sat Shri Akal,
Wow.
G'day. Your first movie, like, it's pretty bold to have two love triangles.
Yes.
I'm like, see them.
See them, yeah.
And not just
And
double take, they'd almost fall over in shock. And then Virat Kohli, look, I posted a photo of him saying that I support the Bangalore team, the Royal Challengers in the IPL, because it's the only time I ever get to barrack for Virat Kohli as an Australian.
Because you have been able to meet them and we can't. So next time if they come in the city, I'm going to run after you. That you have to make me meet them. Small things make a lot of difference, you know, in terms of
You've got to bring
relationship.
Gujja, you know.
Yeah,
Metai.
Metai. Okay.
And so I've seen a lot of change in that time too. But the thing that I always try to impress on my colleagues in Canberra is just the scale of growth that we've seen in Melbourne's West. So over the last 20 years.
Hello everyone, I am Reena, your host at Real Talk with Reena. And today I have got a very special guest. He is an Australian politician. He is the member of Australian Victorian Labour Party. He represents the Victorian seat of Jellyprint. And not only does he represent Victoria, but also the whole Australia, as he is our special Assistant Foreign Affairs Minister. And let me ask him his name on his own. Hello. Hi, Tim. How are you today?
I'm very well. I'm really looking forward to some real talk with you today here, Reena.
Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you. So would you like to tell everyone your full name?
My full name, well, my parents call me Timothy Graham Watts, but most other people call me Tim Watts.
Tim Watts, yes, our lovely Tim Watts. You're very lovely to our community, especially to our community, but I'm sure to everyone. So thank you so much for coming today, taking your time, right? So can I first ask, how did you get into politics? What made you get into politics?
Well, like any good son, I listened to my parents.
Oh, wow. Is that what they wanted you to be?
Well, my mother was a social worker.
Nice.
And it was always very important in my family that all of the children live a life of service.
Yeah.
So, you know, not just working for ourselves, but serving a cause bigger than ourselves.
Yes.
So my sister's a nurse, my brother is a coach, and I'm in Parliament. I started off in IT and telecommunications for around 10 years.
Oh, so you're from an IT background?
Well, I was in the corporate side, so I was a lawyer and a regulatory affairs manager. I did a bit of economics, I was doing that, earning a good living, enjoying life. But then a vacancy came up in the seat of Jellybrand. Nicola Roxon announced she was resigning, and I threw my hat in the ring, and 11 years later, here I am.
Oh, well, that is really great. But leaving an IT background and getting into politics is completely two different things. Like a corporate world and then politics is very different, right? Do you struggle at times with, you know, between the family and your work with the community?
Yeah, I mean, so the motivation for getting into politics is I wanted to make a difference to our community. You know, I got the values from my parents of equality of opportunity, social and economic. You know, I wanted every kid in Australia to have the opportunity to reach their full potential. You know, it doesn't matter who their parents are, you know, what their economic situation is, what their religion is, whether they're born in Australia, born elsewhere, whether they're an Indigenous kid or not. Everyone should have the chance to reach their full potential. So I went into politics because I thought I could make a contribution to building an Australian society that does that. Now, that does require a lot of sacrifices.
Yes.
In a country like Australia, if you're a federal politician, you're spending somewhere between 18 and 20 weeks a year just attending Parliament in Canberra.
That's a lot, yeah.
You know, I have two kids. I was about to say young kids, but they're both at high school this year. That's a direct sacrifice.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you so much for doing that much so much for other community. So my question is, what it's like representing a multicultural community like Melbourne's West as an MP, and at the same time representing Australia as the Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs?
Well, it's fantastic. I like to say that I've got the two best jobs in Australia. So firstly, I get to represent what I think is the best community in Australia in Canberra.
Yeah.
A community that includes suburbs like Point Cook, literally the most multicultural suburb in Australia.
Yeah.
The electorate of Jellybrand has a very significant Indian Australian community, either the second or third largest community of any electorate in Australia. But also very big Chinese Australian communities, Lebanese Australian communities, various African Australian communities. Like, we've got everything.
Yeah,
feels like the best of the
together.
world are here, and we all come together to celebrate. So, you know, I just genuinely love the community I live in and think it's such a privilege to be able to represent it in Canberra. But then I also, on top of that, get to represent the best country in the world overseas as our Assistant Foreign Affairs Minister. And in our foreign policy, I get to work for Penny Wong, and we often say that our foreign policy begins with who we are, begins with our identity as an Australian people. And we're a country where half of us are either born overseas or has a parent born overseas. And that means that anyone, anywhere in the world can look to Australia and see something of themselves reflected.
That's true.
And we as Australians can look in our own community and find a point of connection, a point of understanding with someone anywhere in the world. So working in the foreign policies, in the foreign affairs ministry, that's like a superpower. Every room that I go into, I know that the people I'm meeting with have some kind of understanding of Australia and can see themselves reflected in the modern multicultural society that we've built here.
Well, I have always seen you gelling up with everyone. You mix so well, be it any community you are in. It doesn't seem like that you are not amongst us.
My rule in politics is commit 100%.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you. So your next question is, and which I've seen, that you've gone viral on social media a number of times over the year after you met Indian celebrities like Rani Mukherjee, Karan Johar. He's my favorite though. Virat Kohli, definitely, I love him. What's it like meeting such people, who has such a massive online following?
Oh, and I'd add to that list Ram Charan as well, and
yes.
A.R. Rahman.
Yes.
Yeah, this is one of the privileges of the job of not just being in a foreign affairs portfolio, but also representing a community like ours in Melbourne's with such an intense connection to India. So it's given me opportunities to meet people. The Indian Film Festival in Melbourne every year, it's a big deal in Australia.
Yes.
Me Too, Boromik Longi has built a really fantastic institution that we all benefit from. And I was really pleased for the anniversary of the festival to be able to welcome Karan and Rani to Parliament House. Yes. And I had the privilege of being able to host them in my private office for about an hour before we had a function with the Prime Minister. And wow, what a privilege just to be able to talk with them privately, no entourage, no security, no pressure, just about life. And Rani it's no secret, she's such a lovely, gentle, kind, thoughtful individual. She puts you at ease, asks about you. It was a really special experience. And then Karan, wow, big personality.
Yes, he is.
He judged my profile for me. While we were talking about the filming of Kocha Kocha Hote Hai.
Oh, yes.
And I said to him, I was like, look, that was your first movie. It's pretty bold to have 2 love triangles.
Yes.
like you wouldn't see that an Australian director be that ambitious in their first film. But Karan, he sized up my profiles. He looked at both, told me that one of my profiles was definitely much better than the other and I should only use that profile. But unfortunately, I forgot which one it was. So now I'm very paranoid about that. But yeah,
you can always talk to him. I'm sure he'll be reachable to you.
Well, yeah, I message him sometimes on Instagram. He's a really lovely bloke. But having engagement with celebrities of that scale, it's beyond anything we have here in Australia. When we're taking them through Parliament House, it was funny actually because some people who don't follow Indian film, don't know who they are. But then as we were walking through the public area, every now and then someone would see them, and not just double take, they'd almost fall over in shock. And then, of course, online, the size of the response we get from posting the photos and the videos of that event was just incredible. Virat Kohli, look, I posted a photo of him saying that I support the Bangalore team, the Royal Challengers in the IPL, because it's the only time I ever get to barrack for Virat Kohli as an Australian. And that little post, that little selfie I had with him had 65,000 likes.
Wow. Well, let me tell you, a lot of people would be jealous of you because you have been able to meet them and we can't. So next time if they come in the city, I'm going to run after you, that you have to make me meet them. Well, that's absolutely an honor to meet them. They have been so popular in the community, I think in the whole world, and Karan has done marvelous work in the industry. So, and thanks to Meetu for bringing them all across here and connecting the two countries together in terms of entertainment.
Well, he did say that I should appear in one of his movies. So
Why not?
I've missed the opportunity for coffee with Karan.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll have to take him up on the film one day.
Absolutely, we would love to see you. So my next question is that Australia and India are deepening their ties across trade, education, and defense. Now, what's next we are looking in terms of relationship?
Well, look, I think that from a foreign policy perspective, the relationship between Australia and India has never been better, but also never been more important.
Yeah.
It's no small thing that Dr. Jaishankar and Penny Wong have met each other more than any other foreign minister.
Yeah.
It's a really close relationship, and we work closely with India bilaterally, but also through the Quad. So we're regularly meeting together. My big ambition for the relationship is to have the political relationship's going very well, the defence relationship is growing really quickly, but is to have the business relationship match that. So Australia-India economic relationship, India is currently our 5th largest trading partner.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of space for growth there. So last week at Deakin University, the Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, the Trade Minister, and myself, Junior Minister, launched a new economic engagement roadmap for Australia and India. And that's our strategy for growing that trade and investment relationship in the future, focusing on education, focusing on green tech and that transition, focusing on agribusiness and on tourism. The one thing that all of those super highways to growth has in common is they rely on those people-to-people connections.
Yeah.
The Australian-Indian community now nearly 10 lakh strong, depending on how you measure it.
Wow.
That is a really incredible
Big
resource. It's a human bridge between our two countries, between our economies.
Yeah. So, hearing what you said, my next question would be, what about migration? Like India and Australia with, people who wants to come from India and the people who are here and they want their immediate family members to come through. Like even with parents' visas, and siblings and all, it has become so hard for us to get them here. What's happening here?
Yeah. I mean, look, this is obviously a really big issue for a society like Australia. If half of us were born overseas or have a parent born overseas, it means we're connected at a human level with so many people outside our country.
Yeah.
It's natural that Australians will fall in love with people from other countries, want them to come to Australia. Once they've established themselves here, to want to bring family members to share the life that they're building here in Australia. And, look, I come from a multicultural family as well. My wife is Hong Kong Chinese Australian, so I know how important parents and grandparents are in families. I think it's fair to say when we came to government in 2022, the immigration department was in a bit of a mess. It hadn't been reformed for a long time. The processes and morale were kind of really straining inside that department. And when we came in, there were more than 1 million applications for visas waiting to be processed.
Yeah.
So that backlog, part of it was the kind of post-COVID boom, a lot that hadn't been acted on during COVID. But it was a massive backlog, compounded by a pretty dysfunctional department. We're still working through and it will go up and down the processing times, but the number of applications waiting to be processed now are about 23% smaller today than it was when we came into government. So if anyone ever wants to contact my office for engagement, for support on these issues, it's something that we regularly do. But we understand how important it is as a policy issue, and we're appropriately reforming it and resourcing the department.
So just a question with this, a lot of people in our country have an average salary of 50,000 or 60,000 rupees, okay? But when they apply for a tourist visa just for a function to the sister's house or someone, the immigration rejects saying that, you don't qualify because your salary is less. But now that the change from tourist visa to student visa has closed, I think it should be a little easy for people to come and visit their family members.
Yeah, I mean, we have a universal visa scheme, so the same rules apply for all countries. And one of those important principles is that people are able to support themselves.
Thank you. My next question is that you've been vocal about the importance of multiculturalism and social cohesion. How do you see the contributions of Indian Australians shaping Australia's future?
Well, as I was saying earlier, I think Australia has built a uniquely successful society here. A society where half of us are born overseas, parent born overseas, but we come together. We don't live separately. We don't live in sort of these distinct pillars, isolated from each other. We share workplaces, we share schools, we share sporting teams. So for me, when I look at the contribution of the Indian Australian community, the fastest growing diaspora community in Australia, I see the impact they have across every sphere of Australian society. I mean, in Melbourne's West, you could not imagine our community without the Indian Australian community now, across business, across culture, across our schools. It's had a transformative
Especially
impact.
your area.
Especially my area. I mean, I was reflecting, Dr. Sushil Kumar, the Consul General, had a dinner at his residence recently, and I came along with a number of people from the Melbourne Indian Australian community, half of whom were kind of old friends, I'd known for sort of 10 years or more, and half were new people I was meeting on that night. And, meeting with a lot of old friends, like Pradeep Tiwari, for example, the current mayor of Maribyrnong City Council. And he was saying, do you remember when we set up the first Diwali in West Footscray? And, we were getting the council to agree to close the street. And I was just thinking, it's like, how crazy is that? We're talking about establishing the first Diwali in 2014. Like, this is how far we've come. Now Diwali time and Holi time are very busy periods.
Crazy, I would say.
in the diary. But not just that. I mean, the community's become much more diverse now as well. So, we have Navriti, we have Bathkuma, we have Sankranti, we have
a lot of,
so many festivals. And it's, again, a bit of a superpower for me because I can learn about the diversity of India through our own community here. And so that when I'm representing Australia in India, I do that with that knowledge that I bring from my own community.
I've heard that you speak a bit of Hindi. Do you? What else do you know other than kuch kuch hota hai?
Well, I can start a speech with Namaste, Namaskaram, Sat Sri Akal, G'day.
Well, that's nice. But yes, I see you with,
Holy
Yeah, absolutely. And whenever you come to the event, you meet everyone. I see you you have to go to a lot of events, but you communicate with the stall holders, you communicate with the people around there, you mix up with them. I remember your small matchbox, that was so cute. These are little tiny things which...
The candles for Diwali from Light and Glow in Truganina.
Yeah. So these small things make a lot of difference, in terms
You've
of
got to bring
relationship.
Gujja, Mithai.
Mithai. Well, so the next question is, what does a federal politician do for the community? You are the federal politician. Now, you attend many events here, but what else?
I mean, there's two roles that I think are really important for a federal politician. The first is listening. My mentor in politics said to me that as a politician, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you've got to use them in that proportion. So a lot of my job is listening, and that's why I love getting out in the community, because that's when you hear from people what they really think, how things are going and what we need to change in our society. So, listening, taking that input and then taking it to Canberra, discussing it with colleagues in the Labor Party caucus, discussing it in the Parliament, discussing it in the ministry so that we can affect change. So that's job one.
Yep.
But job two, and I think this is perhaps the most important part of any MP's job, is almost like the pastoral care you do as an MP. So these are when people come to you looking for help with government. So, someone might have a Centrelink issue, they might have a Veterans Affairs issue, an NDIS issue, an issue with the tax office, or in an electorate like this, issues with the migration system. And, there wouldn't be a single day that my staff aren't picking up countless issues like this, chasing them up, and getting outcomes for residents in our community with government.
Yeah.
So being an advocate, solving problems for people, and you can have a transformative impact on people in that. I mean, a couple of weekends ago was a really important one for me. We'd been fighting this issue of young boy born in our community, Kayan Kachal. He was born with cerebral palsy, 10 years old. And, his parents, Varun and Priyanka, they were not Australian citizens when he was born. And because he was born with disability, they didn't have access to permanent residency. So we picked up their case for 5 years.
Wow.
We're chasing it. And we recently had an outcome on that case where they were granted permanent residency.
That was huge. Yes,
And
I saw that.
So emotional. And seeing how Kayan has been thriving in Australia with the support network of his community and the school he's attending. When I first met him, he was non-verbal.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Now he's not just verbal, but he's verbal in 4 languages.
Wow. Wow.
And seeing the smile on his face as he's interacting with his community and the people that love him, they're the moments that make being an MP worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, that at least when you sleep at night, you know that, wow, what a work you've done, how nicely you've supported the community, how happy would that family be?
Well, no matter what else I do in my time in politics, I know that Kayan will be here thriving.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was a lot of good work. I saw that in the news as well, and I saw that on your page as well, and that was really, really good. Thank you, Tim. Now, my other question is that has the West? So I feel I've lived in West for so long. I think almost 12, 13 years I've been in West. I used to live in Tarnet, right?
Yep. You would have seen a lot of change in that time.
Yes, I have. Now, I have seen a lot of change, but I still feel that West has been left a little behind. When, there are issues with business sustainability, access to schools, transport, having only one hospital in the whole area, these are the things which we struggle. What can be done about it? Have you thought of anything?
So I've been a representative in Melbourne's West since 2013.
Okay.
And so I've seen a lot of change in that time too. But the thing that I always try to impress on my colleagues in Canberra is just the scale of growth that we've seen in Melbourne's West. So over the last 20 years in Melbourne's West, our population has grown by just under 1 million people. It's a really big figure.
I think it's more than even Geelong.
Well, we're on track to have a bigger population than Geelong.
Yeah.
Somewhere like Point Cook, 25 years ago, there was 1,000 people lived there.
Yeah.
Now it's closer to 70,000. So that's the kind of growth that we're dealing with. And I would say that a lot of the infrastructure type issues are largely state government issues, but they've been active. I mean, just since 2019, they've built 28 new schools, and there are 6 more schools under construction now. That's just since 2019, right?
That's great.
And in terms of hospitals, I mean, the Footscray Hospital is the biggest hospital, public hospital build ever. In the time I've been in Parliament, the Joan Kerner Women and Children's Hospital has been built.
Yes.
There's planning going through for the construction of the hospital out in Melton. On the infrastructure side, obviously we've got the Westgate Tunnel, and we're all experiencing the roadworks at the moment.
That was much needed.
But also, when I first came in, we had the Regional Rail Link project that Julia Gillard funded, and that reconstructed the train stations in Footscray and West Footscray and Sunshine. We've just announced the new Sunshine train station reconstruction. That's joint federal and state government funding, and that will enable all of that extra rail infrastructure across Melbourne's West. So I feel the population growth. I live here, my kids go to school here. I sit in the traffic as well. I know what it's like. But the government's been very, very active as well. Now, I'm pushing for more. I was really pleased to see that, we just announced a schools funding deal with the Victorian government, and the federal government's kicking in a record $2.5 billion for public schools. And the funding formula for that will take them to full funding, but also fair funding. It'll mean schools in Melbourne's West, public schools, will get more. And on the infrastructure, I'm pushing my colleagues for more, and I hope to be able to say more about that in the future.
And do we expect another big hospital like the Very Mercy in the area? towards that side?
Well, I know that they're working on finishing the Footscray Hospital, which is a very large one.
Yeah.
And there've been a number of the Medicare urgent care clinics that have been built
Yes,
as well.
yes, I saw that too.
And I think that the current focus is, out in Melton.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. So, my second last question. What should people know about the choices of the upcoming elections?
Well, I mean, it's a big choice at the next election.
Yeah.
I mean, we've gone through a hard period in Australia. You know, the world's thrown a lot of challenges at us, and the inflationary shock that's created this cost of living crisis that we're going through has been one that's been experienced around the world. We've tried to make progress on that in the last 3 years, and you know, we're seeing results. You know, inflation's down, wages are up. Our energy bill relief and our tax cuts for all Australians are helping. You know, our cheaper childcare policies, our cheaper medicines policies, our significantly increased funding for Medicare and strengthening Medicare and increasing bulk billing all help with the bottom line of families. But we know that there's more to do. We also know that Peter Dutton opposed all of those measures. So if Peter Dutton had been the Prime Minister for the last 3 years, Australians would be on average $7,200 worse off. So the choice at the next election is whether we keep building on the foundations of the last 3 years, or we keep building Australia's future with Labor, or people are worse off under Peter Dutton.
Well, thank you so much. You've given all the answers wonderfully and, you know, explained everything. And yes, Labor has done a lot of work. I have myself seen that. When I came to the country, of course, I was a student. And then when I got my permanent residency, then I started understanding a bit of going for votes and everything. But now by the time I'm here, I do understand, and I've seen how much work you guys have done. And me living in West, I know how much, you know, West has grown. So thank you so much. For you guys to keep doing on this work, and I hope people vote the right people this time, and I hope you stay the same with us and between us, and you know the way you gel up with us, we love it. I love it. I am always comfortable around you, and you know, whatever help we need, you know, your office is there. So thank you so much. Thank you, Tim. Is there any message you would like to give to your people before you go?
Well, given the time of the year, I'm looking forward to playing Holy with you in the near future. Well, look, my message is that I know things have been hard over the last 3 years. We've been working hard to make it easier for Australians, but the job's not done yet. We know that, and that's why this election really matters. And I'm asking for the support of the people in Melbourne's West so that we can continue to finish the job.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So that was Honourable MP Tim Watts with us, and he's answered all our questions wonderfully, very confidently, and I'm sure with the same confidence he's going to come back to us with the elections. So make sure you vote the right people, search, do your research, and then go for voting. Make sure you vote, and we get the right people elected who can do good work for the community and for us. So thank you so much, and have a good day. Bye.
Authorised by Tim Watts MP, Australian Labor Party, Newport, Victoria.